everyone. This is our last math video for the week, and it's annexing zeros when dividing. Now it sounds like it's going to be really hard, I know, but don't panic, it's not. You're still just going to be doing some regular division, but you're going to add a few steps to it. So the rule is, I'm on page 277 and 278 in our trusty dandy math book. Alright, to avoid a remainder or a fraction in the quotient, annex zeros after the decimal point of the divide-in and continue to divide. All whole numbers have an understood decimal point after the ones place. Annex a decimal point and a zero so the problem does not have a remainder. Remember to include the decimal point in the quotient. So what that's saying is every whole number, no matter what the number is, think about of a decimal being right behind the ones place, because this is the ones place, that's the tens place. Think about there's a decimal automatically there. This number can still be read 32. That's all it's saying is you're adding a decimal and a zero. That's all annexing zeros when dividing is doing. Add a decimal and a zero. That's all it's doing. Okay? So let's look at your example. It said 4 divide by 30. Well, you know that if you're going to divide by 30, 4 doesn't go into that equally. So you know you have a remainder. So you will not have a remainder. Add a decimal. Don't forget to put it in your answer. And the zeros. Remember, because you just made dividing with decimals. So you put the decimal number in the answer. Now you should be able to divide this and get no remainders. So 4 can go into 30 how many times? 7. And that's 28. Then you subtract just like normal. Please do not forget to borrow a cup of sugar from your neighbor. Okay? 10 minus 8 is 2. Bring down the 0. 20. How many times does 4 go into 20? It's 5 times. So your answer would be 7 and 5/10, 7 decimal 5. So all you're doing is adding the decimal and a 0. Don't forget to put your decimal in your answer. That's all you're really doing. That's not, I don't think that's that complicated, just adding something to it. Let's look at 1A. When you look at that, you automatically know 2 is not going to go into 15 equally. There's no possible way. So add your decimal, add your 0, add your decimal to your answer. Now we can divide. 2 is going to go into 15 how many times? 7. That makes 14. Bring down your 0. How many times can go into 10? 5. And we are left with no remainder. Okay, look at 1D. Looking into that, you know it's not going to go equally. So add your decimal, add your 0, add your decimal in your answer. Now you can divide. What's the closest number it's going to go into? 5. 7 minus 5 is 2. Bring down your 0. 4 times 5 is 20. And you're left with no remainder. So annexing zeros, all you're doing is adding the decimal, adding the 0. So when you divide, you do not have a remainder. That's all you're doing. So now we're going to review some more of material we've already learned this year. So I don't want you to forget it while you're at home. sitting there probably playing Fortnite. Well, at least some of you. Alright, let's look at number 5. Convert the temperatures. I really don't want you to forget this. So let's look at 5A and 5B. Alright, well, we know here we're going to use both of the temperature formulas, but you've got to remember which formula. Well, this one, we have the Celsius temperature, so we're using the Fahrenheit. So for 5A, is it 5 over 9 or 9 over 5 that we use? It's going to be 9 over 5 times C plus 32. When you're going from Celsius to Fahrenheit, the number's going to get bigger. So you're going to have to add. Well, here we do the multiplication first. 9 over 5 times the Celsius is 50. We can cancel out. 9 times 10 is what? 90. So we're going to add that to the 32. Bring down your 2. 3 plus 9 is 12. So the answer is 122 degrees Fahrenheit. So now with B, since we're going to Fahrenheit to Celsius, we're going to use, since we used 9 over 5 here, we're going to use 5 over 9 F minus 32. Because when you're going to Fahrenheit to Celsius, the temperature is going to get smaller. So we're going to say 86 minus 32. 6 minus 2 is 4. 8 minus 3 is 5. So you have 54. Then you can divide. I mean, not divide, times, multiply. Remember, you've always got to make that whole number a fraction by putting a 1 under it. We can cancel out. 5 times 6 is 30. So you've got to remember those temperature formulas. It's not going away. You just got to remember which one to use and when to use it. And what step to do first. Okay, let's look at 6A. Now your decimals have to stay lined up in this one. You can actually go ahead and put your decimal in your answer if you want. But there's one step I told you you needed to do. Yes, this number is bigger than your bottom one, but you have no number there to subtract. Remember I said always put your placeholder 0 so it will be easier to subtract and you won't just go ahead and write an answer down. Because that number is not always going to be 5. So then you borrow. 10 minus 5 is 5. Do not go ahead and cross everything out when you think you're going to divide by, borrow from everything. Wait. Go by step by step. If you go ahead and take everything away, the only time you do that is when there's zeros. 15 minus 6. 17 minus 9. So yes, we did have to borrow from all of our neighbors, but some cases you don't, and I know some of you go ahead and borrow from everybody when you don't have to. Okay, let's look at 6B. Well, we're starting off, we can't subtract because our fractions are not the same. They need the same denominator. So, what's something they have in common? Think about it. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 1 is 3. 4 times 2 is 8. Now, we still cannot subtract because 3 is smaller than 8. So, we're going to borrow from the whole number. Add the whole number over here, make it a fraction, 12 over 12. 3 plus 12 is 15 over 12. Now 15 minus 8 is 7. 11 minus 6 is 5. And let's look at 6H. Now we know we can't do this, they're not both the same, but we only have 2. Does anything times 7 equal 21? It does. So, 21 is our common denominator. 7 times 3 is 21, so 4 times 3 is 12. 12 over 21 minus 5 over 21 can be done. 12 minus 5 is 7 over 21. That can be reduced by 7. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 21 divided by 7 is 3. It can be reduced to 1/3. If you're truly watching the videos, you get your review lesson, which is really good. That's something that you need. All right, let's look at 7A before we finish up our math lesson for today, because those are the solving the equations. Some of you had a hard time with this, and I noticed in one of your drills that you did recently, some of you, I think, forgot how to do it. So we're definitely going to review that. So 7A says 3n equals 8 plus 4. The first step that you have to do is add that 8 plus 4. 8 plus 4 is 12. Now look at this side. It says 3n. That means 3 times n. What's the opposite of multiplication? It's division. Now 3's cancel out and you're left with n on this side. That means if you divide 3 on this side, you divide 3 on this side. How many times does 12 go into 3? And the answer is 4. And let's look at 7B. Do the 19 minus 11 first. And it is 8. This n over 8 means divide. So if you do this opposite of division, multiplication. 8 times 8 is 64. And then if you look at C, once you add that list of numbers up, 16 plus 4 plus 9 plus 10 plus 3, the other side says n plus 4. You're going to subtract 4 on both sides to get your answer. Alright, so I hope I answered all your questions. If I didn't, please let me know. Bye, class.